Part 75. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 766. Damn Infinity, the descendant of the smashing Masons, this despicable and shameless guy, he really couldn't hold his stupid thoughts at the most critical moments of the Empire, extending the evil claws to the territory of the Empire. In the George Palace, the Imperial Emperor Alfred IX was mad and smashed the Lord of the Sun in the most vicious language. He dared to trade with the Abyss Demon, and he dared to call himself the successor of the glory of the glorious Lord. Really the most despicable reptile. Since the two powerful kingdoms of Austria and Spain have been united by a sacred marriage, and after the formation of the Holy Norman Empire under the Double Eagles, the empire has become the most powerful force in the entire Orient continent. They conquered the earth, conquered the ocean, conquered the sky, conquered a large number of planes, especially after the 30-year war defeated the Crusades organized by the Church of the Glorious Lord. Fastest update. Because of the unbeaten glory of these centuries, the imperial people never lowered their high heads. They still did not consider organizing an organization against the Dark Council after the turbulent years, because it seemed to be a cowardly performance. The Empire attacked in the dark areas, the Empire defeated the endless beasts, and the Empire battled the endless abyss. This great empire almost used its own power to counter the entire dark parliamentary offensive, still maintaining the balance of power. However, now that the balance of power has broken, when the Church of the Sun and the Church of the Blood, which has been guarding each other, simultaneously attacked the weakest southern defense of the empire, Alfred IX has no elite army to fight against. The enemy, especially the Infinity, the Lord of the Sun, and Nicholas, the Lord of the Blood, are two gods. Your Majesty, the Empire is already in the most dangerous situation since the founding of the People's Republic. It is time to ask for help from France. At this time, only the French kingdom has the strength to support us. Imperial Prime Minister Jude Philip advised him to clench his scepter. This is a tough decision. Your Majesty, there is also the Tower of the Thousand Laws. You should personally board the 1000 French Tower, request the support of the First Law Tolafit and the entire 1000 Towers. The Duke of Andraschi also proposed himself suggestions. Can you withdraw the magical armored ship from the Zingai fortress? The Imperial elite can easily crush these bugs. Alfred IX looked stunned. There is no way, Your Majesty, the battlefield of the Zingai fortress has already gone through the heat. If it is not for us to continuously transmit the materials and forces of the past, the fortress has already fallen. Once the Zingai fortress falls into the hands of the devil, the entire empire will be completely no defense. Prime Minister Jade did not hesitate to discourage. Alfred IX's face changed indefinitely. After a long time, he finally made a decision. Okay, I have a handwritten book. Jude Feking, you go to Parley to see me. Andraziking, wait for me. Just accompany me to the Tower of the Thousand Laws. At the critical moment of crisis, the Emperor finally gave up the death alone. From Vienna to Par, the average person needs a long journey of more than a month, but Prime Minister Judefi quickly came to the junction of the Empire and France through the transmission array set up in the key cities of the Empire, and then boarded the corner. The Eagle Beast chased the gradual sunset and flew toward the distant city. Alfred IX was on the summit of Mount Abis, accompanied by a high-ranking and intricate relationship with the Duke of Andhra, and the Speaker of the Abisfa Parliament, Anthony. Meet here. The Holocaust has been dead for 2 years now. Didn't you have the position of the First Law? Anthony's speaker, today represents the entire empire, and asks for help from Lord Tolafit, the relationship between the Holy Norman Empire and the 1000 Family Tower. Although there is no such thing as the Kingdom of France and the Royal Academy of Magic in France, the Tower of the Thousand Laws is located in the territory of the Empire, and the connections have been very close for hundreds of years. Anthony the speaker sighed. The First Law is indulged in the magical world and the truth. Ulant is not so important to him. In his eyes, only the world's core mysteries and the most powerful energy are available. It is worth paying attention to. Then, the chairman of Anthony, can you be wanted overnight? I want to see you personally with Mr. Turafat. His Majesty the Emperor suppressed the anger in his heart and asked calmly. Of course, please, 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 Anthony nodded. After sending the spell together, everyone had already appeared under the blue tower. For the last 300 years, the first Fadilov has rarely left his tower, and rarely made any instructions to the Tower of the Law, originally under the auspices of the Abisfa Parliament, the Tower of the Thousand Laws. Everything is in order and there seems to be no problem. But when the catastrophe of the catastrophe came and the whole of Orient ushered in an unprecedented change, Anthony's heart always had a shadow, that is, the expression of Tulefat's performance was too detached, too much, as if he had completely abandoning his identity as a human being has become a higher life. In fact, since he last boarded the Blue Tower with the seventh Fadaya, the Tulfat has not seen anyone again for more than a year. Even Anthony does not know the tower. How is the founder's current situation? When the housekeeper Moros re-entered the wanted, the speaker and the emperor had some anxiety and waited under the tower, waiting for the reply of the human strongest magician. It seems that after a very long time, Moro's housekeeper once again walked down the long rotating steps, his old face bloomed into a chrysanthemum. The owner welcomes your visit, please come with me. Chairman Anthony and Alfred IX smiled and put down their worries, followed behind the butler and boarded the Blue Tower. When the gate of the tower was just opened, Anthony was shocked. In this small tower, he felt the feeling of the vast expanse of the stars, even a more complicated, more mysterious, whole universe. Energy outside the crystal wall system. The first Law Lord has already begun to contact the mysteries outside the world of Orient. Once a shallow layer of blue virtual energy pool, almost all of it is now overflowing, even if any drop of liquid in this energy pool is enough to satisfy the consumption of a legendary spellcaster. Such a Turafat is so it is even stronger than the leaders of several dark parliaments that Anthony saw with his own eyes. This is the first legendary magician of mankind, and the supreme strongman of all Orient human beings, the great guardian, and human beings will never be destroyed as long as they have the existence of Lord Turafat. The first method of wearing a purple robes appeared in front of the two people. His face was pale, and a pair of blue eyes flowed with ancient wisdom. His body was full of books, and only when he reached the level of Master of Anthony, he was able to sense it. What is the terrible power contained in this first law body? Little Alfred, I have already understood your intentions, Tulafat said with a gentle smile on his face, but with the firm words that cannot be rejected. The Lord of the Sun and the Lord of the Blood are just a little trouble. The Abyss Demon outside the Zingai fortress is the key to this battle. I will leave the Blue Tower tomorrow, destroy the Abyss Demon, and lift the crisis of this empire. Great, Alfred IX is overjoyed, knowing that the Empire's greatest enemy is undoubtedly the endless abyss of 7 demon monarchs. As long as the threat of the devil is lifted, the most elite empire of the Zingai fortress and the magic guide armored ship can teach the infinity to be a minute. Soon, Alfred IX left the Blue Tower accompanied by the housekeeper Moros. Anthony asked hesitantly, Tulafat, have you finally decided to respond to the worldly demands? Anthony, I told you that the Dark Parliament and the devil are just a little trouble. What I see in my eyes is the power that is truly powerful and can't be expressed in words. Even the gods can't compare it. The power of true eternal detachment. Tulafat patted Anthony's shoulder gently. Don't worry, my speaker, tomorrow I will give the devil a heavy lesson, let them roll back to the endless abyss. Go with. In the face of the promise of the founder of the Thousand Law Tower, Anthony finally put down all the worries in his heart. As long as the first law is still sensible, then the Dark Council is not a problem at all, and this is the Tower of the Law. The atmosphere of the first magical holy place. Anthony expressed his support and understanding of 11 Way and his arcane ideas. In his eyes, 11 Way is very good for the next millennium, but Zai Wei can only represent the future of magic. The current glory can only be attributed to one person. It is the first law. When Anthony left, the door of the Blue Tower was closed again, as if it had isolated two different worlds. The whole person in Tolafit was soaked in the super energy pool. He was hungry and through the power of it. There was a tight sweat on his forehead. The whole person seemed to be ill and closed his eyes, and he kept twitching. No one noticed that the super energy pool is constantly changing colors, from blue to green, then green to blue. The Zingai fortress, facing the new military sentiment, the buzz of the fortress headquarters, almost everyone is denying the inferior and shameless Lord of the Sun, Infinity, the hatred of the Empire for centuries and the Church of the glorious Lord at this moment climbed to the extreme. Only the Imperial Marshal Heinrich looked at the military situation in his hand, with a hint of mysterious smile on his face. Katrina was keenly aware of this scene, and she curiously went forward. Why is the Marshal laughing? Tomorrow, it will be the moment when the Empire counterattacks and defeats the Abyss demons completely. Marshal Heinrich smirked with a smile. Everyone notices that the next will be a top-level strategic meeting. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 767. The Zingai Fortress attack and defense war has been maintained for more than half a year, and this fortress has become an uncompromising battlefield meat grinder. 3 fastest. If it was not for the second Logrodic's continuation of the transmission array to continuously supplement all kinds of war preparations and personnel, Zingai Fortress fell in the endless aggression of the Abyss Demon. Up to now, the Abyss Devil has also reached a horrible number in the battlefield of the Zingai Fortress. Even the 7 demon monarchs have to order to slow down the attack frequency and intensity. Our Lord of the Sun and the Lord of the Blood have joined the battle, and even the Shadow Dragon has taken the opportunity to occupy the Trieste of the port city. Everything is developing according to our plan, and then we are here. There are only Zingai Fortress in front of you. The wise man Falraz extended his arms and suddenly stood up. Jun Jun, tomorrow we'll launch the final battle, we will also come to the battlefield. The other 6 demon monarchs solemnly nodded. It was a great shame to break through the Zingai Fortress for a long time. The exchange of interests made for this purpose has already made too many concessions. When the Scorpio of the long galaxy shines again, it means that the sun is rising again above the earth under the feet, and a new day is coming. Both the Emperor and the demon army have sensed the strong suffocation of the coming of the war. The Zingai meat grinder has brought great losses to both sides, and the biggest card is about to open. Both sides have a well thought out situation. The decisive battle finally took place. 10 Imperial armored ships of the Imperial Party were all dispatched. In the case of adherents, only the 10 magical armored ships were able to perform important tasks such as counterattack, support, and harassment, including the Santa Estampa, which Catalina controlled. On this day, there has been no appearance for a long time, and the most fascinating legends of the infinite abyss of the Aloha, the horror creatures such as the Belows, the Sorcerer, and the horror creatures have appeared again. Behind them, the horror figure of the 7 demon monarchs stands quietly. It's finally here. The demon monarchs have to enter the battle in person, said the Imperial Marshal Heinrich, excitedly, although the demon monarch in the Zingai was not strongly suppressed on the ground by the suppression of Iluna, but here they can only play a small amount of combat power above the sanctuary, not an invincible semi-god. If the demons were smashed in the past, the Zingai fortress had a great chance to completely fall, but today, the most powerful of the human beings, the first legendary magician in history, the pioneer of the Thousand Law Tower Lord Lafayette came to the Zingai fortress to fight. It should be known that even the Thirphobades later made a powerful demigod who controlled the source of death. The president of the Dark Council, the 6th Falls Nister, was even more independent of the 7 devils, and joined forces in the fall. Before the 3 demons were returned to the chaos, all the insiders, including Marshal Heinrich, were full of trust in the Lord of Tolafit, and they were full of confidence in this battle. When the tragic war was reenacted, a mysterious purple-robed man appeared in the sky above the Zingai fortress. He stood quietly here, But everyone including the 7 demon monarchs did not notice him. The presence. He has a slender figure, pale skin, blue but full of wisdom eyes, powerful to the ultimate horror energy is being saved between his hands. This will be his first shot after contacting the power outside the world. This in World War I, it is enough to only use this spell. In his down view, tens of thousands of demon elites, hundreds of legendary demons, and 7 demon monarchs of the infinite abyss, will be shrouded in his carefully prepared super magic, except for the 7 devils who can rolling back into the chaos and licking the wound. All the other demons will die in the torrent of this force. At the beginning of the war, the demon army took the upper hand. The human being seemed to be caught off guard and was quickly suppressed around the Zingai fortress. Several powerful legendary demons have already climbed the barriers of human fortresses. The victory seems to be very soon. It is coming. The human commander seems to be aware of this, and then the human resistance is very determined, but it has never been able to repel the demon's attack. Soon there are only 10 magical guides left outside the Zingai fortress. At this moment, a magical armored ship collapsed, and it was the violent Lord Razgarda, the strongest fighter in the demon monarch. His full blow defeated the surface of the Saint Nurkan. The magical protection array directly caused a devastating blow to the magical armored ship. Next, the remaining magical guides became more and more cautious. They concentrated together and there was only one lonely and afflicted queen, Mesti, who couldn't join his companion. This magical armored ship was Carter. The Saint Estanba, which is controlled by Lina. Katrina was in a hurry, and she was a little bit greedy, so that the deceitful and painful queen caught the flaw and destroyed the return of Saint Estanba. She is not worried about the devil's attack, but according to the pre-war deployment. Soon the first law of the Lord's horror spell will come to the middle of the demon army. Now the other 8 magical guides have been safely concentrated together, only I am very likely to be buried with the demon army. At this moment, the wise man Falraz was keenly aware of a touch of uneasiness. The most pure magic can focus on his eyes. He suddenly saw a lot of fog, saw the Proud standing above the Zingai fortress, wearing a human magician in a purple robe. First faded, Falraz stunned and shouted a name. The first law that appeared at this location at this time brought him no surprise, but a kind of horror. Falraz had just ordered the demon army to retreat, but everything was too late, and the horrible energy torrents sprang from the hands of Tulafat, which is far beyond the legend of the 9 rings, the 10th ring of the holy light, and even half. The horror spell of the power of the gods. At the moment of the most desperate moment, Falraz saw a glimmer of hope, because the blue eyes of the human mage actually appeared in the faint green, which is exactly the same as his pure magical power. In the desperation of Catalina's demise, in the horror of countless demons, in the eyes of all human beings, the horror of the original force rushed toward the Abyss demon army. However, the development of the story is full of drama. At the moment when the force torrent is about to collide with the demon army, the eyes of the first Fatulafat are completely occupied by the Green Devil. At this moment, he is no longer the guardian of human beings. Became of evil at the end of the trial. The mighty torrent of power suddenly turned, aiming at the 8 remaining magical armored ships of the Empire, rushing toward the strongest Zingai fortress of the Empire, shocked by countless demons, and looked at the thoughtful eyes of Falraz. Everything, was disintegrated in the torrent of this horrible force. The magical armored ship and the Zingai fortress were all swallowed up. Breakthrough. Catherine was the first person to wake up from the shock that was enough to make everyone's brain blank. In her roar, St. Estanba was sent directly to the battlefield, with maximum power. Go straight below and return to the Empire. Katrina knows that this battle has been completely defeated. The first law of the Empire is the Devil's Helper. It destroys the entire Zingai fortress and the most elite army of the Empire. From this moment, the Empire has completely declined. Now, the force torrent did not stop after the collapse of the 8 magical guides and the Zingai fortress, but continued to rush rushing between the astral and the Orient continent, the position of the personal structure of the silver moon Ms. Elena. Face barriers. Although this is the barrier of the true structure, in the undamaged flushing of the chaotic magic that can destroy everything, it is finally washed out a huge gap. All the abyss demons, including the wise seeker, are overjoyed, and the barrier of Orient has been opened. From now on, the devil's power in the continent will rise to near its peak, and they will no longer be affected by Ailu. NA's aiming at suppression will have the same peak strength as in the endless abyss. The 7 demon monarchs are the 7 strongest semi-gods. The abyss demon defeated the most powerful sacred Norman empire of mankind, and will never be completely unconventional. At this moment, the green man's into Rafat's eyes finally dissipated. He took back his hands and found that the situation on the battlefield was completely beyond his expectations. No, what did I do? Tulafov couldn't believe in holding his head with both hands, but everything he saw told him the real situation. No, it is impossible, I can't control it, it is impossible. Tulafov whispered insanely, and his figure quickly disappeared from the battlefield. Lord Turafat? You are back so soon? What is the situation? Anthony greeted the first law of return, but Turafat completely ignored him, and the wind rushed into the blue tower. When Anthony was inexplicable, the amazing scene was staged. The towering blue tower, the mage tower built by the great first method of the Lord, collapsed in one section. No, how is this possible? Tulafat, Anthony screamed wildly. However, the founder of the Thousand Family Tower, the first Fata has completely disappeared, no one can find his trace. On the 8th of May, 1789, the Holy Norman Empire and the Endless Abyss Demon Army staged a peak matchup. The Empire was defeated. Only the Saint Estanba was spared. The devil broke through the suppression of Ms. Elena. The compelling peak posture, the king of the Orient continent. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 768. Chaos. The real chaos is also Iangulant. Among all the people on the battlefield, only the wise Wolerts knew what had happened. Among the 7 demon kings of the endless abyss, the Lord of Disasters, the Queen of Pain and the Dread Lord have the imprint of chaos, and the remaining 3 devils are transformed from the monsters in the multifaceted plane. Only Falraz is completely complete. From the world outside of Orient, the chaos of thousands of universes, the end of chaos and evil. The wise man, what happened just now? Tulafat is crazy, asked the painful queen of the rest of the robbery. Don't worry so much, we won the victory anyway. Falraz calmed down. Razgada, starting the raiders against the French kingdom, after getting rid of Iluna's suppression, you can build your own church organization in Orient, the Disaster Church, the Pain Church and the Fear Church. It's time to start working. Very good, then according to the previous arrangement, the entire kingdom of France is my parish. The owner of the disaster burned a green magical evil fire, this is his complete form. The home of the Norman Empire will be a paradise for spreading fear. The Dread Lord opened his wings around the dark and horrible atmosphere. Spania will be the birthplace of pain and help me to achieve the devil's territory, said the Queen of Pain with a smile. From this moment on, humanity will roll down from the dominance of Orient, they will become the Lamb of the gods, the source of faith, the power of power. Razga, Mesti, Nadik, you need to collect your faith as soon as possible and seal your gods before other competitors. Falraz glanced at his 3 companions, it is time to launch a general attack on the empire. The fall of the Zingai fortress has caused the entire Norman Empire's strategic situation to deteriorate to the extreme. Facing the countless demons that landed from the sky, the guardian of St. George had to open up his own patron saint and open up hundreds of circles around Vienna. The land of Kilometer is firmly sheltered in it. This is the super defense of the owner of the guardian. Even if the army of the abyss is assembled, it is difficult to capture it immediately. It can only take a long time to slowly kill. Because the collapse of the Zingai fortress was too sudden, even with the full force of the 7th Fadila, the caster of the Thousand Law Tower, the royal guard of the Holy Norman Empire cooperated against the Devil's time for the transfer, but the whole sacred in the Norman Empire, less than 10 million people were sheltered by the Guardian, and all other cities and territories were in an undefended state, and they became the hunting ground of the Devil. The imperial army commanded by the imperial marshal Kafka was defeated by the Devil and the Orc. From this moment, the empire glory no longer. The battlefield of the entire Zingai fortress was closed by demons, and outsiders could not peer into the results of this war, and an elite expeditionary army was moving fast on the road leading to the Holy Norman Empire in the Kingdom of France. This is the ambassador of the support forces of Long after the Prime Minister of the Empire, Judify, sought help from the French kingdom. He himself is also convening the main force of the kingdom and will set off after 3 days. Although there is no such idiom as the lips are cold, Olin knows that once the Holy Norman Empire falls, the only remaining human kingdom, France, cannot alone attack the entire Dark Parliament. Olong issued the highest level of Lionheart warfare to the whole country. This is an urgent summoning order that can only be issued by the king when the French kingdom encounters the crisis of extermination. The elite of the whole kingdom will be united and united in the lion. The heart of the war is full of combat. In the history of France, the Lionheart warfare has only appeared twice. Every time, there are countless songs of loyalty and glory, brave and sacrificed chapters, and heroes of one after another. Now, it is time to destroy the country. The edge of. From Dunkirk to Marseille, from Brest to Strasbourg, all the cities and territories of the entire Kingdom of France have sung the Battle of the Lionheart, which is the national anthem of the French kingdom. Corsica, Ajaccio, Blue Fort. The Bonaparte of the Bonaparte family are gathering. The owner of this territory, Carlo Bonaparte, has put on a full set of epic armor. He is firm, steadfast and full of high morale. Princess Olivia, the hostess of the Blue Fort, is finishing her neckline for her husband. Her eyes are full of love, care, and worry. Do you really want to go out? Carlo, when Bonaparte became a member of France, the Lionheart Covenant has already been signed for hundreds of years. You cannot participate in this battle, Olivia whispered and whispered. Olivia, this is a battle against the French national movement. Once defeated, the darkness will cover the earth, and humanity will be completely a slave to the aliens. This is a fate that everyone can't escape. Caro looked serious. Said, I have stepped into the legendary ranks. I believe that, Olivia, even if the war is fierce, I also have the power of self-protection. Carlo, my lover, know that I and my 2 daughters are still waiting for your return. Please keep this in mind, don't swear by sacrifice, Olivia solemnly advised. Earl Bonaparte nodded seriously, the two hugged each other, and after a farewell kiss, Count Bonaparte set off. Princess Olivia stood on the highest floor of the Blue Fort and watched the entire Wind Knights boarding the ship away from the port. Looking at the distant sea and sky junction, she prayed earnestly that her husband could return safely. Marseille is the assembly point of the southwestern part of France. The troops from the southern cities and territories responding to the Lionheart War Order will gather here, starting from the South Road and entering the territory of the Holy Norman Empire, blocking the Church of the Lord of the Sun and the Secret. The attack of the Church of the Lord of Blood. When Carlo arrived in Marseille, more than 50,000 troops were assembled here. Flags of various colors fluttered over the city, and the whole city looked messy. The Bonaparte Knights of the Bona family have 3,000 knights. Recently, they have been equipped with excellent magic armor under the generous arming of Ziwei. This armor has a rare protection against the basic protection of physical spell attacks. It is the most suitable for the Knights of the Wind. In the last few months, the tops of the Knights of the Blast entered the Yunzong city, where Xifen belongs to the wind element plane, and practiced there. Because the blood of the Bonaparte family is from the wind element plane. The wind elf, the speed of progress here, is amazing, and the Count of Carlo Bonaparte is here to promote the legend. 3 years ago, Carlo Bonaparte was only a 7th order knight, but now he has grown to the 9th order legendary knight, which made him a deputy commander of the South Road Army. The commander is the Marseillais Los Duc K, a veteran legendary knight. Hey, Count Bonaparte, I don't seem to see the figure of Count Frost. Didn't he come? It was the Count of Alfonso, the father of Nina, who only brought it to this time. 500 knights and 3,000 infantry. Xavi Frost, Carol shook his head, the violet of Count Frost is in the Dominion. According to the decree, the king did not have the right to conscription, taxation, etc. in 50 years, and the Count of Frost did not participate. The Lionheart Covenant, so he was not called. Is it? Earl Alfonso said with some disappointment. I still want to see the legendary master's style. I want to know that my little daughter is going to school in violet every time I return. I will tell you a lot, so I am very curious. Right, Count Frost is already engaged with your daughter. The Count of Alfonso deliberately pulled closer and the two quickly became hot. 3 days later, more than 80,000 South Road Army assemblies were integrated. Except for a few small lords in remote areas that have not yet arrived, most of the lords who have been summoned by lions have gathered in Marseille city. Among the 80,000 strong army, the number of high-level and above professionals is less than 20,000, which is called elite. Most of the junior and middle-level professional players do not play much role in the battle against the devil and other aliens. They can only be regarded as servants. The Blast Knights, who were carefully armed, even the mid-level knights were able to compete with the high-ranking knights under the bonus of sophisticated equipment, which is considered to be the most elite trump card of the South Road Army. The army of other lords is either small or not, or equipment is not available, and the real combat power is lacking. However, the mission of the South Road Army is not to fight against the devil, but to fight against the invading army of the Lord of the Sun and the Lord of the Blood. The Church of the Morning and the Royal Society of France will provide shelter for high-level forces, so the atmosphere is not tension. The military's war is also very high. The tasks of the North Road Army are much more difficult. They will personally face the devils of the endless abyss, but the army that has been reunited around Oolong has more than 200,000. The Knights of the Morning Church also walked along the way. Liu and Chao South Road Army. On the 15th of May 1789, the 7th day of the Battle of Xingai Fortress, the South Road Army of the Kingdom of France traveled to the Nissan Pass, crossing the mountain range and entering the territory of the Holy Norman Empire. All the way to the march, the Bonaparte family and the Alfonso family's army are all close together. Count Alfonso is also very interested, often hunting around the road, until the evening before sunset. Caro followed and enjoyed a lot of fresh the game of barbecue. The feelings of two middle-aged men also heated up a lot. Above the Nissan Pass, a green sinister portal has been opened, and countless abyss demons have come out of it. The entire area has been hidden with evil spirits and cannot be scouted. The commanders in this demon have a proud figure, a good appearance, waving a long 9-section whip in their hands, and it is the painful army under the painful Queen Mesti. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 769. Queen Her Majesty, ready, can attack at any time. A tall succubus stalking the green sorcerer came forward. She is the leader of the succubus race and the pain of Mestin. Church High Priest. Time is up, let's get started. Remember not to defeat these poor mortals too quickly. The painful Queen Mesti waved her hand, and then the painful legion launched an ambush against the South Road Army. At sunset, it was the time for the camp to rest, but suddenly there was a demon army descending from the sky. It was a complete disaster for the entire South Road Army. What is even more surprising is that the strength of these demons is far stronger than the historical records. The form quickly fell on one side. In this case, several nobles tried to launch magical things with the transmission of spells, but unfortunately they did not get a response. It is obvious that the space around the battlefield was blocked, and a desperate mood began to spread among humans. In the face of the raid, Count Carlos Bonaparte and his blasting knights are undoubtedly the quickest response and begin to fight. These fast-paced knights can attack and retreat, and the devils have come back. Save the human race is on the verge of collapse, and Carlo, who has entered the legendary ranks, has killed a legendary demon and became a well-deserved hero. There are really two things. It seems that I have to enter the game myself. The painful Queen Mesti flashed red light, and the next time she held the 9-section whip, she appeared behind Carlo. Even Carlo Carlona is a legendary knight with the blood of the elves of the wind, and he can't avoid the sneak attack from the semi-god strong. With the 9th whip in his back, a painful attack hits the soul. Let him completely froze. If it is a legendary person, the soul will completely burst under this painful whip. Now Carlo is also uncomfortable. His whole person seems to have been thrown away from the horrible cage, suffering the most painful punishment, never stopping. Under the attack, Carlo was solved, and the blastest of the blast was completely rid of the succubuses that followed, and the South Road army of France was on the verge of destruction. Here, he should come. Mesti looked at the southeast side not far away, with a glamorous smile on his face and a beautiful expectation. Carlo is in danger. Among the violet castles, Ziwei suddenly frowned and looked to the northwest. Carlo Bologna was Natalia's father and important relatives, so Ziwei was very early. I will give him a special magical object, which has 3 functions of alarm, protection, and escape. It can be said to be the best of life. However, now, the highest level of red alarm is triggered, which means that the emblem of Carlo Bonaparte has been triggered, but still cannot get rid of the danger of life, but also did not escape the danger. Thinking of Natalia, who was still practicing on Yungziao Mountain, Ziwei quickly stood up and said, I must rescue Carlo. What happened to Ziwei? The new guest of the Violet Castle was sitting in the opposite side of the questioning about the crystal-clear grape crystal. A minute later, Ziwei had already appeared in the sky above the Nice Pass. The empty partition here clearly could not isolate the transmission magic of his space magic expert. Everything that was inside confirmed the prediction of Ziwei. This is the army of the devil? Actually appeared in the territory of the Kingdom of France. Ziwei recalled that there had been no battle for the Xingai fortress in the new week, and there was a worse speculation. After all, the Xingai fortress is located in the astral world. Outside the Orient Plain, few people can watch the war there. Even the super strong cannot stand the siege of the demon monarch. Pain Queen Mesti? How does she look even stronger? Ziwei once pretended to be a spiritual mage. Davy followed Schiller to the inauguration of the Dark Council. At that time, the painful Queen Mesti was far less powerful than it is now. Ziwei saw Carlo, and he apparently suffered a heavy soul. This is the most difficult injury to deal with. Ziwei must quickly rescue him and return to the laboratory for treatment. Seeing that the autumn wind is sweeping the leaves, Ziwei does not mean to entangle. Directly wrapped in a whirlwind of Carlo, the transmission of the spell has been launched. However, the white light flashed, and the figure of Ziwei remained motionless and still stopped in place. This is awkward. To know the accomplishments of Ziwei's current space magic, there are not many people in the entire Orient world. Xavi Frost, I am very happy to meet you. We are waiting for you for a long time. The painful Queen Mesti smiled and looked at the air in the west. Ziwei suddenly sensed a few powerful existences, that is, the terrorist will from the endless abyss, the ultimate tyranny, and the one who once saw the smashed by MRSUNU in the heart of the tower, which is really aimed at your own trap. Soon, in addition to the painful Queen Mesti, the other 3 demon monarchs also appeared, the fear of the devil Nodok, the tyrannical Lord Razgarda, and the wise Worth. Ziwei, your growth rate is the first in the whole multidimensional plane. In a 3-year period, a small magic apprentice actually grew to the level of the demigod. It really brought me too much surprise. We finally met in reality. The wise man, Falraz, chats with Ziwei with the joy of his old friend, the oldest abyss tyrant, who is undoubtedly the one who surpassed Ziwei in space martial arts. Is this the way of hospitality in the endless abyss? It is really enthusiasm. Ziwei reluctantly responded that the 4 demon monarchs appearing in front of him are undoubtedly true, and everyone has a semi-god strength. To know that in the World War I outside Milan, the Devil's Majesty came through the portal to the 3 weakest. The Orient world has a repression against the abyss demons, and it is difficult for them to exert their full power. But now, the most powerful demon monarchs all appear in the world of Orient, which means Ziwei looked up to the sky and looked bright and bright. However, he had not received the care and response of Ms. Unyu for more than a year, let alone the adventure of the magical world tree journey. I am very sorry, Razor Gata, who is afflicted with the sulphurous abyss, spread his hands. Your Lady of Silver Moon may not be able to respond to your prayers. It will be my highest level of courtesy to meet you. I will make you a treasured collection, and let you experience the tyranny that I control in 1,000 ways in 1,000 years. The fear of the abyss, the fearful demon Nautic has no nonsense, but directly issued his most powerful single attack. The most powerful fears from the endless abyss can be gathered into a purple beam. Quasi Ziwei shocked away. The ultimate death of the soul is finally forbidden. Falraz's sharp devil's finger popped a dimly green cage, completely suffocating the soul and body of Ziwei in an instant, even if he was honed into a treasure in the endless river. The soul can't break free. Turkey destruction. Razgada also played a green magic ball, which seems to be a very horrible effect of ordinary attacks, can completely smash the enemy's flesh and blood, become a disorderly chaos. There are enough threats to the semi-god strong. Painful lament. The long whip in the hands of Mesti also fluttered. The most pure and inexhaustible pain will be completely imprinted on the enemy's soul. After a long torture, most of the Mesti whip has tasted the strick. The enemies have become her slaves, from the soul to the flesh, forever eternal. In the face of the siege of the 4 demon monarchs, Ziwei launched the ultimate move for the first time. The whole body was turned into a group of white crystals in the first time. All the etheric elements in the heart lake burned up in an instant. It burned to the hottest peaks of the most peaks, just like the supernova explosions that used to engulf the West and the Zero. No matter whether it is the light of Arcane or the rainbow of Focus, it can't be against the enemy, and the end of the future needs more long-casting time. In the face of the 4 strongest demons, Ziwei has only one way, that is, the heart lake. All the elements burst completely, simulating the explosion of supernovae, and using this horrible attack to fight against the peak magic. When the extreme is reached, the horrible white glare spews out in an instant, engulfing everything around. The light and shadow are intertwined here, everything is bleak, even the 4 devils are also banging. The color change seems to have returned to the front of the Zingai fortress to help the force torrent. However, the fireworks are only in the moment, and the ether supernova is also the same. After an instant, all the elements of Ziwei have been burned, and the whole person has no resistance. The 4 demon lords face the eruption of the etheric supernova, and they have suffered serious injuries. However, time flies, and it is far from jeopardizing their lives. The entire battlefield, including all the painful legions and the southwestern Franco-Royce, as battlefields. The Nice Pass is completely annihilated, including Natalia's father, Earl Carlo Bonaparte. Damn little guy, you really gave me a lot of surprises. The tyrannical lord came forward. He wanted to tighten the throat of Ziwei. This human finally lost all resistance. However, at this moment, there was a huge golden figure on the horizon. Her body was so large, like a mountain, like a sea. The sand on the golden dragon scale was violently beating, and her ember eyes were a bit determined. In the next moment, the lines of countless time that have been lingering around her body suddenly broke, and the hourglasses disappeared one by one. The dragon of time, Croming, took the head of the dragon and spit out a golden yellow sand with countless hours of time. Long interest. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 770. Throughout the Orient world, the most entangled with the line of time is undoubtedly the dragon of time, the sand of countless times, the skin of her original bronze stained into gold, countless hourglasses representing the hour in her dragon hovering around the body. This is not only a spectacular appearance, but also a symbol of strength. At this moment, however, all the scales of these times have been cracked, and Kromish has exhibited his own ultimate trick, which spits out the power of time that has been in control for thousands of years, because only in this way can it be the most powerful. The four demon kings turn the tide in front of them. Even the demon monarch, who is an infinite abyss, can't fight the torrent of time. At this moment, the four demon monarchs were all swallowed up by the endless time of sand. The surface of the skin turned into a golden grit and eventually became a lifelike statue. In the face of the super attack against the enemy, Zai Wei tried his best to make his body and soul co-frequency with time, because only in this way can the Qing dynasty be guaranteed, otherwise the statue of Xia will be transformed into the same. After just one breath, the entire battlefield has been completely frozen by time, as if it has become a scene of solidification in the eternal time, all of which come together to form a picture. The body suddenly narrowed down too much of Chromie's subduction, and the dragon claws grabbed the west way to fly into the sky and flew in the direction of the Violet Castle. After half a magical time, the statue of the wise Wiraz Shisha was the first to disintegrate, and Chromie's ultimate trick was to completely destroy the enemies under the sanctuary, but could not kill an abyss. Falraz awakened his three companions, but the look on his face was already gloomy. The dragon of the time, I should have chopped her up and fed the destruction magic. The anger of the tyrannical master has climbed, but the next moment he suddenly raised the tone. How weak is my strength? Is it Ilu? Has Na's seal been effective again? Falraz sinks. Chrome's time magic has changed the time dimension of our body. It takes a while to slowly synchronize with normal time. The time is about half a year, that is, after half a year, our strength can be restored to the heyday. This is a major mistake, and Zai Wei also ran away. Falraz, even the dragon of time, can never reapply this trick. The time she has controlled has already collapsed. It is impossible for us to pose a threat in the future. No one expected that Zai Wei would be for such a short period of time to control the magical level of the magic. Our failure is not accidental. The painful Queen Mesti comforted the road. In any case, we still have an absolute advantage. Do you still have to go through the second step? Dreadlord Noddick hesitated. Is it only the enemy that has a big fight? This time we rely on strategic bullying and long-term secret preparations to get to the forefront. The next step is definitely not to be lost. Time is on the enemy side. We must race against time. The Lord Razgada is like a volcano that is about to erupt. French must be captured, and the King of the Lion Heart must die. Let's go. The enemy in the north battlefield has also entered the ambush circle, and we will leave. Falraz opened a door of the void, and the four demon monarchs entered it one after another. The golden dragon of time flies past the violet night sky and flies to the Violet Castle. It is obviously observed by many high-level mages of the violets along the way, and the unconscious West Victoria in her dragon claws has made countless people horrified. This night's Violet Castle quickly stopped countless carriages, and many high-ranking mages arrived here by flying and transmitting spells, wanting to visit the owner of the violet. Zai Wei, Christine looked at the scene unbelievably, knowing that the impression of her in the West is always invincible. How could it be such a serious injury? Chromie re-emerged as a high elf. She shook her head and said with an apology, Xavi has been ambushed and was besieged by the four most powerful demon monarchs. I saved him from the trap. come out and exert a powerful flood of time. Although Ziwei has a certain time source, it is too dangerous for him. At this moment, Ziwei is trapped by time. No one can help him except himself. Even if I am no exception. Right, what about the Count of Bonaparte? Kristen asked quickly. Chromie shook his head. Oh my god, this is really a bad news, now. Christine was hesitating, there was already a magical aura flying into Violet Fort, all the magicians' request for a visit. At this time, the owner of Violet, Ziwei, was in a time dilemma. The hostess Natalia was still practicing in Yungziao Mountain. As the second vice president of Ziwei's newly promoted Violet Academy, Christine knew that she must prop up this situation. The visiting licenses of important high-level violets such as Yang, Meryl, Ilya, Cesare, and Black Shanwei were soon allowed. How about the Westway mentor? What happened to President Ziwei? A group of people have entered, naturally seeing the unconscious Westway, his time is so rich, so that a group of masters are wrong, no master who entered the legendary level, most of them are impossible to understand the time. After understanding the details, a group of high-level Violet leaders reached a consensus and sealed the news. They only announced that the president of Ziwei had a new sentiment and had to retreat for a period of time to conduct magic research. We must quickly go to Yungziaoshan to recall Miss Natalia, who is Mr. Ziwei's fiancée, the hostess of Violet. Christine raised another topic. After a while of silence, everyone agreed. It's up to me to go to Yungziaoshan tomorrow morning, Christine said. I also ask you to ensure the normal operation of the Violet territory. I believe that the president of Ziwei will be able to wake up soon. After the crowd dissipated, Christine said to Chromie with apologetic, I am very sorry, Ziwei originally planned to arrange a grand welcoming ceremony for you, so I would like to introduce you to your distinguished status, only please you forgive me. Thank you very much for the great sacrifice you made. Without you, I am afraid that this time, Ziwei is really fierce. Christine's apology is extremely sincere, knowing that it is the ambush of the four powerful demon monarchs of the endless abyss. The fierceness of this war is just a matter of thinking, and it is the biggest to return safely. Fortunately, Chromie naturally felt the sincerity of Christine. She sighed, unfortunately, I have not done it for the next time. I can only delay the Abyss offensive for about half a year. This is the last chance. I hope that Ziwei can wake up as soon as possible. On the second day, Yungziaozong was located on the highest altitude of Yunzi Mountain on the outskirts of Kingsburg. The mountain stood in the clouds, and the rising sun in the morning shines on the mountains. It is also a golden glow. It is also known as Yungziao Jinding. It is the most famous dojo in Yunzong, and the countless low-order monks dream of the Holy Land. Accompanied by Janexai and Kaelu, Natalia was sitting cross-legged in front of the cliff. She calmed down and relaxed her brain. The whole person was in a wonderful harmony and was feeling her own way. Every legendary monk has his own way, which will determine their future direction. Natalia is 1,000 miles in the practice of monks, and in a short time has become the most proud disciple of the great master. In less than half a year, Natalia grew to the stage of deciding the future with her best life, which is the last door to the legendary monk. The great master is happy to look at the close disciples in front of him. He believes that she can grow into a powerful monk in the future, enough to pass on this profession and carry it forward. At the foot of the mountain, there were 7 or 49 bells ringing, which meant that guests with legendary ranks came to visit, and soon the guests came to the top of the cloud with the bells, in front of the great master. Miss Christine? It's really a rare guest. In the Battle of Water Elemental, the Grand Master and the Star Master worked together, and with a warm smile on his face, he saw Christine's face. He was slightly a glimpse. What happened? I have to meet Miss Natalia. There are important accidents, Christine said. Ziwei was besieged by 4 demons, and now he is in a state of distress. Natalie. Yes, father, Count Bonaparte, died in battle. Lu Yun took a long breath and had a sigh of relief. After a long time, he waved his hand, "Go." When I opened my eyes, I saw the silver-haired beauty. Natalia's mood was as bright as the summer Sunday. She laughed and said, "I'm going to break me down on the mountain. Miss Christine is here visiting me. What good gift for me?" "Not a good gift, Nada." Christine gently grasped Natalia's hands. "Your father, Count Bonaparte, participated in the southwestern French army, was ambushed by the abyss, and Ziwei went to rescue. The four demon monarchs were caught in a time dilemma under the siege. Now they are still in a coma. Your father has been gloriously killed, and please sorrow." "Kristen, are you kidding me?" Natalia laughed, and a pair of blue eyes stared at her. "Is it today April Fool's Day?" "The festival is sorrowful." Christine felt that her hands had been caught tightly, but she could only say this. "How is it possible?" Natalia shook her head. "Ziwei, Xavier is always so strong. He has never failed. My father has been promoted to legend. How could it be so easy? Just die." She shook her head and gradually retreated. However, the blood-red tears of the two lines had fallen from the corner of her eye. Obviously, the power in her blood was lost. "Natalia, my disciple, this is not a vain, but a reality," Lu Yun said. "There is always a gap in life. This is a fate that cannot be changed. You must try to accept it, even if it is too bitter." Natalia was finally alerted, and she groaned, "Master, I am afraid I can't continue to practice with you. I have to return to the Violet." "Go, my disciple, I am very happy to have this relationship with you." Flowing Cloud, slightly decapitated, "Give you a final piece of advice: don't be angered to control your heart, don't be blinded by hatred. You are still young, the future is limitless. Even if the enemy is too strong, there is always a chance to revenge." "Yes, master." "Christine, let's go, I want to see my father, and, Ziwei." Natalia wiped the tears in her eyes. Break the Anti-Theft Perfect chapter. Please use the search engine various novels to watch. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 771. Outside the port of the Violet Islands, there is a merchant ship with different flags in and out. It is a busy and fulfilling day. Only a handful of people know that the owner of Violet, the Master Ziwei, is now in a coma. When Natalia returned to the gates of the main bedroom in Violetburg, she saw the Ziwei lying in bed and sleeping, and the sister Meryl, who was accompanying her. Meryl's spirit is not so good, and her father's death has brought her great trauma, although her contact with her parents is not that much. The coma of Ziwei made her feel overwhelmed. She didn't fall asleep all night, until the sun rose and couldn't stand the fatigue and fell on the bed. Natalia stepped forward and grabbed Ziwei's hand and took her sister in one hand. If she left Yung Xiaozong, she was still on the verge of emotional excitement. Now she is like a calm mountain. Suppress all the emotions in my heart. Her body was full of strength, her face was determined, and she brought great comfort and dependence to Meryl. Meryl was dependent on her sister, and her tears slowly fell. No one knows how long before Ziwei can wake up. Natalia quietly looked at the sleeping lover. Until this moment, she knew how heavy the responsibility on his shoulders had always been. "I am sorry, but this is the case." Ziwei entered a separate time series. He must be awake and break the battle to get rid of the difficulties. Now no one can help him, only by himself relying on the windowsill. Chromie whispered. "You are the fourth Fakromi? I am very glad to meet you. I have heard Ziwei tell me about his experience in the dark area. You gave him a lot of help." Natalia stood up, extended his right hand to Chromie. Chromie shoved slightly and the two shook hands. Natalia did not greet anything, but directly made her own request. "Can I go to the battlefield of the Nissan Pass again?" I want to see the place where my father died in battle. Yes, Natalia stopped Meryl and Christine, who wanted to keep up, and disappeared into the white light with Chromie. The entire Nissan Pass has changed completely. The green hills that were originally covered by green plants have been rewrapped with a layer of bronze color, just like the old-time stagnant in the photo, completely condensed at that moment. There are still many humans or demons in the battlefield that still maintain the appearance of life. Like gold-plated sculptures, they are lifelike and perfectly preserve the last moments before death. Chromie brought Natalia to the center of the battlefield, where the Zyway supernova erupted and her time spurred, which has become a huge deep pit, and all other traces have been annihilated. Natalia stepped into it. She sensed the fierce and desperate battle. The four demon monarchs' battles were enough to crush any powerful force in the world, even Zyway. It is impossible to save her father. Her spirit began to diverge, her soul naturally merged with the whole world, and the blood in her body began to burn. The blood of the Bona family belonging to the Bonaparte family sensed the existence of the blood of another wind elf. The golden lion's blood that belongs to the French royal family is operating in a way that no one can speak. Chromie quietly looked at this scene, but did not stop it. This girl who has two kinds of top blood, but walked on the path of monks under the guidance of the great masters, is taking a new inexplicable change, that should be the evolution of the Tao pursued by the monk, the direction to be pursued throughout life. Gradually, Natalia finally sensed her father's breath. She slowly fell to the ground with her knees, covering her chest with one hand. The air-powered traction and soul sentiment that she once learned at Yongxiaozong finally came to this moment. Breaking through the bottleneck, under the combined effect of two distinct blood forces, she seems to be with her father and experienced the last time before her father died. Chat, game, attack, organization, resistance, despair, hope, despair, and finally, calm and indifferent to meet death. The loyalty and friendship he was obsessed with had dissipated at the last moment, and only his love and blessings for his wife and daughter were in his mind. Chromie saw a magical scene. Around Natalia, the dead souls were gathering and manifesting. In fact, they suffered such a violent impact. These souls have already been completely broken and cracked, and there is no hope of any resurrection. At this moment, however, they are constantly reorganizing one by one, and all the cracked pieces are reconnecting in an indescribable way. This is not a necromancer spell, because the necromancer spell only uses the soul as a method of casting, and all the souls gathered in front of it are full of extreme emotions, that is, they are the hottest and fierce at the moment of death. Gorgeous emotions. Finally, the first complete human form came together. Even though the whole body was golden, the Chromie still recognized his identity. It was Natalia's father, Carlo Bonaparte. Count. At the Count's side, one of the warriors in the war dead reappeared. They wore heavy armor and rode horses. They took the brave and fearless warfare of life, one ride, two rides, until 300. Night. The South Road Army, which has a full 80,000 people, has only condensed 300 knights. On the one hand, Natalia's ability is still very young, and on the other hand, only the real warriors can respond to Natalia's call. Chromie can easily tell that these people are not born again, not even the real soul remodeling. I am afraid that only real gods can do it. This is only Natalia intercepted these in a special way. The most glory of the warriors in the dead are the spirits of the moment. Natalia finally opened her eyes and stood up. She smiled at the golden shadow of her father in front of her face. Father, from today on, we will fight side by side, never separate. 300 golden knights lined up in a neat and uniform queue, headed by Carlo Bonaparte, and a solemn military ceremony against Natalia, and then turned into a golden sand, integrated into Natalia the body. Chromie took a deep breath and she finally realized what had just happened. The young lady of Zyway's fiancé actually got the ability to resemble the most primitive demigod, and these warrior souls are undoubtedly the prototype of her prayers. Natalia, are they? Chromie asked with some hesitation. Natalia smiled at the sun and said, I have found my own way, that is war. This may be something that Master never thought of. Ziwei once told me a lot of stories, I like it the most. 1. Just call them English spirit. At this moment, Chromie no longer regards Natalia as an ordinary mortal. On her, Chromie saw a prototype of a god, the initial starting point. Next, go back to Ayacho, no longer take your mother. Natalia made a decision. The white light flashed through the two, and the two came to the sky above Ayacho, but it was a scourge, and the fire of countless magical powers raged on the earth, and half of Ayacho had sunk into the sea, but Blue Castle it turned into a ruin. Obviously the devil ravaged the place and then left, leaving only a piece of scorched earth. Natalia's eyes turned into a blood-red color. She dived directly into the blue fort like a cannonball. She searched with a trace of luck, but quickly found her mother's body in the master bedroom. She still kept her appearance in life, wearing a lake blue dress and lying quietly on the lounge chair, as if she had just slept. Only a trace of black blood flowing from the corner of her mouth proved that she died of poison. Princess Olivia died of suicide. At the last moment she knew she was never fortunate. She did not want to fall into the hands of the devil and become a tool for the enemy to force her husband, brother, or daughter. Natalia burst into tears and fell on her mother's body. Her hands had already trembled violently because of excessive exertion. She was just 20 years old and ushered in the loss of her parents' death in one day. This is unbearably heavy. Strike. Chromie stood quietly in the distance, even though she was already used to the joys and sorrows, but this scene still made her heart ache. She only hoped that the little girl could hold strong and not be defeated by fate. After a long time, Natalia struggled to stand up and said in the softest voice, Mom, I brought my father back, our family of 3, to be together forever, okay. Her blood force is running wild again, and she does not care about the huge damage that this overload will bring to her. She finally gathered her mother's spirit. It is like a small flower, a gentle woman. Unlike other golden spirits, she is a unique white. This time we will be together forever, no one will leave. Natalia cried and laughed again, tears slipping over her cheeks. Natalia, you? Chromie asked worriedly. I am very good. For the future, I have never been as clear as this moment. Natalia stood up and said, from this moment, I have only one pursuit in my life, that is, sweeping the endless abyss and smashing the devil. At this time, Natalia, like a real Valkyrie, her will is as strong as steel, and only the flaming warfare on her body is going forward. Chromie whispered, Natalia, you still have Ziwei. Believe me, he won't be disappointing, and he will soon come out of time. Natalia's face finally had a bit of tenderness. Yeah, there's Sivi, and Meryl. I'm not alone, rest assured, Chromie, as the patriarch of the Bonaparte family, I will never fall down easily until I reach my lifelong wish. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 772. The future of mankind is in the stars. Lin 11 looked up. This is the school motto of the 5th Aerospace Academy of the Federation. In the 10 years of college life, he persisted in the increasingly strict assessment again and again, and finally got the ability to board. The presence of a large starship as a commander, as a high-ranking student of the Federation, stepped up step by step. After about 20 years, he will successfully become the captain of a large commercial ship and develop the commander of the ship. This is the brightest future. Future. Lin 11 always has a dream of exploring the mysterious and vast sea of the universe, but it is a loneliness, confusion, and almost no hope of any career. Only a very small number of people can persist. Lin 11 is not afraid of this kind of loneliness, but he can't go on this road because he has his own fiancée, a beautiful girl named Natalia, not only the first of the Federal 5th Space Academy. The school flower is the first heir to the famous Bonaparte consortium in the entire federation. Lin 11 was far from the performance of other elites in the university, so when he got the favor of Miss Natalia, almost everyone was stunned. Lin 11 looked at the distant eyes and lost focus, just a silly smile, happiness overflowing on the face. What is smirking? It's a graduation ceremony right now, someone took a shot on his shoulder. Lin 11 finally came back. It was his fiancée Natalia in front of him, wearing a silver blue striped Star Commander. She looks so handsome in uniform. In fact, Natalia's lethality is not divided between men and women. Lin 11 even heard a lot of peach-colored scandals that she and many other super beautiful people have, such as Sci-fi, the super newcomer who won the championship in the Stars and Sky Slide contest last year. The most famous blood-stained Rose Charlotte in the restricted fighting contest. In the eyes of outsiders, the gap between Lin 11 and Natalia is far more distant than that between the White Swan and the White Swan, but Lin 11 can feel Natalia's sincere emotion to him. That is true love. In fact, Lin 11, who was dull in immersion in his studies, received the hints of Natalia after several times, and realized that he had fallen out of the sky. He naturally could not resist the charm of Natalia and soon fell down. Under the pomegranate skirt. Natalia took Lin 11's enthusiasm and took a group photo with her classmates. After graduation, the students will be scattered in all corners of the whole federation. Most people will find it hard to meet again in their lifetime, so a faint parting linger always lingers. In the middle of the campus. Lin 11 is a handsome man, and standing next to Natalia is not too shameful. He maintains a normal heart and faces the curiosity, contempt, jealousy, and hatred of others, but his left hand is always with Natalia is holding tight. This is her own happiness, and she will never give up easily. The headmaster appeared in the auditorium and began to award each graduate. Natalia was undoubtedly the representative of the best graduates. She made a wonderful speech on the podium, and all the students in the auditorium applauded her seriously. When Lin 11 took the diploma from the principal, the old principal also sympathetically said, "Young people, you are the luckiest person I have ever seen. It is so easy to pick the most shining of our college in the past 100 years. Pearl. I will cherish this feeling, Mr. President," Lin 11 responded with a smile. Let's explore the RTS-3 Starfield, a habitable galaxy discovered by the great explorer Grodic 7 years ago. My father just acquired a 100-year development right at the auction 3 years ago. And get all the development benefits during the period after leaving her alma mater, Natalia said to Lin 11, "This will be our home of the future, and belongs to you and my kingdom. My father will also name the galaxy. Leave it to me." Lin 11, can you help me think of a nice name? Violet, how? Lin 11 indulged for a moment, a name instantly emerged from the depths of his mind. Violet. Very nice. Natalia is obviously very satisfied. From today, there is no RTS-3 Starfield, it is your own Violet. So Lin 11 and Natalia, who had just stepped out of the university, led the pioneering fleet of the Bonaparte family and began the pioneering work of the Violet Galaxies. Lin 11 used his solid fleet command ability and super strong contingency and coordination ability to help the development fleet to overcome several difficulties, solve a lot of problems, and soon got any respect from the entire development fleet. No one said, "He is eating soft rice." 20 years later, the Violet Starfield has become a popular tourist destination in the entire Federation. The strange and beautiful natural scenery attracts countless ordinary tourists, film crews, star singer Sophie, and fighting Queen Charlotte. Here I bought a villa estate and chose to become a Violet. The Violet Starfield is not only a tourist attraction, but also produces a variety of plants with unique functions, which greatly promotes the function of the human body. This is the most successful new Starfield in the past century, and the name of Lin 11 and Natalia. It also began to be famous throughout the Federation. The film titled Violet is about to start, and the director is Victor Hugo, who has great prestige throughout the Union. At the top of the Violet Fort, Lin 11 and Natalia couples are blowing the evening breeze. Lin 11's palm is gently licking on his wife's belly. It's already high, and a new life is coming soon. To be bred. This is our first child. What should I call her? Natalia is full of words. My mother means Meryl, the name that was originally reserved for my sister, but she did not pregnancy. Lin 11 looked far and wide, and said quietly, 0. 0. Why did you suddenly jump out of such a strange name? Lin 11's brain is running at high speed and seems to be hidden in the bottom of my heart. A mysterious ocean is making waves? What's the dear? You look a little uncomfortable. The wife gently wiped the sweat from his forehead and asked with concern. 0. Explorer, Zaiwei, Orient. Lin 11, no. Zaiwei started to sing a word and a word. His pupils are as deep as the sea, and numerous golden sands are moving in the high speed. With. What are you talking about? I can't understand it at all. Are you tired? Let's go to rest. Natalia was in a hurry. 11 Wei gently took over his wife. Although this is only an illusion of time and space, he is deeply impressed on Natalia's lips. Natalia, my lover, we are all in illusion. Happiness, this is my honor. But Orient needs me, you need me, 0 needs me, I have to go back. The next moment, the former wife, the entire Violet Fort, the Violet Galaxy, and the Federation, all turned into the sand of time, and all illusions were attributed to reality. Zaiwei opened his eyes again, and the site of the catastrophe was the large golden color left on the large terrace through the floor-to-ceiling windows, and Meryl, who was accompanying him. He took a deep breath and finally got confused from time. Returned from the stream. The turbulent flow of time experienced seems so warm, but it implies a deadly terrorist murder. If he can't always see it, he will completely lose it and never return, until the day of dying. This illusory time and space turbulence is completely in accordance with his memory. There is no flaw in one point, but it completely changes his life trajectory. He has lived in this illusory time and space for nearly 30 years, and there is no such thing. Aware. Until the name of the daughter, a 0 word that suddenly jumped out of his mind was the first flaw in the vain chapter. Since then, for the future arcanists, there is no longer any hesitation. After this battle, Zaiwei also had a lot of gains, and the understanding and control of time and space have greatly increased. It can be said that from today on, he is not only the leader of the elemental school, but also has other schools. Killer. How long have I slept? Zaiwei asked Meryl, who had just seen him wake up and surprise. Not less than a day, Meryl stunned and plunged, and she couldn't help but cry, knowing that she was less than 18 years old. 11 Wei took the girl and patted her back gently, and this is what happened after Natalia came back, like a dream. Zaiwei, are you awake? Natalia asked with some hesitation, for fear that this was just an illusion that she saw after her mental disorder. Exactly, Natalia. Zaiwei did not hesitate to go forward and hold the lover who looked so embarrassed in his arms. If in reality, he and Natalia get together for less than 3 years, the two sides are only the relationship of unmarried couples. However, in the turbulence of time and space, they have been together for more than 20 years. The warm and powerful embrace of Zaiwei gave Natalie the comfort and support of Asia-Pacific, just like the birds flying alone finally had a branch that could shelter the wind and rain. My father is dead, my mother is dead, and I am dead in the hands of the devil. Except you and Meryl, I have no relatives. Natalia's tears wet Zaiwei's clothes. Even Princess Olivia is dead. Zaiwei can only hold the last 2 members of the Bonaparte family to give them enough warmth. But Zaiwei's thoughts had to start thinking about why this time it would fall into an ambush. I know that all the intelligence shows that the battle of the Xingai fortress is still going on. Why are the four demon monarchs appearing in France at the same time, and their power is so strong? Almost no suppression by the seal of Elena? What happened? Zai Wei instantly realized that this is a real strategic deception. The demon should have already captured the Xingai fortress, but blocked the spread of the news and set a trap for himself. If it weren't for the fourth law, Chromomi would accompany him. I am afraid that this time I really can't come back. No, if it's your own, you will never aim at the violets. The Holy Norman Empire has already been defeated, and then the only enemy of the whole of Orient is only France, and then the South Road Army, who knows nothing about it. And Ulan personally commanded the North Road Army. Zai Wei knows that he must start immediately, even if it is likely to have missed the best time. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 773. The sun is like blood, the yellow sand is full of sky, and the battlefield is full of raging evil spirits. The original plain landform has been turned into a deep mountain lake, and dozens of townships and 3 cities around it have suffered a devastating blow because of this war. This is the discovery of Zai Wei, Natalia, and Chromi, who came to the battlefield of the Northwestern Army and the Abyss Demon. We are late. The North Road Army in France has already lost. Zai Wei sensed the powerful information of the extremes of the extraordinary mortal in the battlefield. The 4 devils were the blood of the tyrannical Lord Razgarda. In the center of the battlefield, a green magical dew was formed. In this magical demon, the King of France, Oolong, died. The inheritor of the Golden Lion's blood, the human emperor who has entered the sanctuary level, after causing tremendous damage to the tyrannical master, is still a battlefield, and the violent magic that the tyrannical Lord Razgada infused into his body can completely shred it. Fortunately, this is not a one-sided defeat. The Northern Road Army of the Empire merged with 2 knights from the Church of the Morning, including the Knights of the Ashes of Charlotte. The Ashbringer, Charlotte, resisted the assault from the painful Queen Mesti and the dread Lord Nodic with the power of the light. The avatar of the Lord of the Morning, Elysian, appeared directly on the battlefield. With the vastness of the sun, the same brilliance suppressed the raging magical power on the battlefield and won enough time for the retreat of the North Road Army. Of course, if there is no time for long Chromi to hang around the sand of all time, the body of the 4 demon monarchs will be traced back to the timeline suppressed by Ms Yin Yu. Then this war is even the Lord of the Morning, Ulysses. It is also impossible to change the outcome in person. Our time is only half a year. We must race against time. After half a year, when the 4 demon monarchs return to the peak, they must grow up to the extent of the demon monarch. Zai Wei went directly to Par, lost the king, and the city was in chaos. Instead of going directly to the brightly lit Versailles, Zai Wei came to the Notre Dame of Par, and he had to contact the Morning Lord, Ulixia, to decide on the future strategic pattern. In 2 years, the Church of the Lord of the Dawn has completely developed into a behemoth. More than 20 million of the 60 million people in the entire French kingdom have become believers in the morning, bringing a lot of faith to Ulyssia. This is why she is able to condense an incarnation, although this incarnation has fallen in the battle of yesterday. The morning sun refuge under the Notre Dame de Paris is very quiet. Since the Dawn Church has grown, most of the functional agencies have moved out of the refuge, which has become the home of Ulyssia. A few believers who are favored by her can get the glory of her side. The arrival of the three-dimensional 3 was first felt by the Morning Lord, Ulixia. She appeared in front of Zai Wei silently. This time she is no longer a golden shadow, but really true. Human form, no, this is the perfect God. Zai Wei carefully looked at Ulixia in front of her. Today she has a perfect appearance and body. Every organ in the whole body has no flaws in every part of her body. This perfect body is not only a symbol of beauty, but also contains with the deep morning power of the sea. This will be the body that Ulixia relies on in the future. I am very happy to see you again, Zai Wei. Ulixia showed the smile of the goddess. This stunning smile made the three people including Natalia and Chromie deeply shocked. It can be said that Ulixia has been close to the Silver Moon Ms. Elena in the impression of Ziwei. She has already reached the forefront in the whole world of the Olympic Games. The Xingai fortress has fallen into a trap. Ziwei did not have too much chill and went straight to the subject. Yes, according to the news I just got, Alfred IX went to the 1000 French tower to invite the first Fata to take the shot. As a result, the fortress of Tolafit swallowed the entire fortress. And almost all of the Norman army, only Catalina and her saint Estanba were spared. The wise wolves created a large enchantment that blocked all news and personnel. Ulysses light eyebrows, Oran is dead, France is also hit hard. In fact, before Olong, I was also ambushed by 4 demon tyrants. If it wasn't for the help of Lord Chromie, I already. Ziwei spread his hands. Time of the dragon Chromie, Ulysses looked curiously at the Japanese elf on the side of Ziwei. In yesterday's World War I sensed the entangled line of time that haunted the 4 demon monarchs. If it weren't for you, the demon monarch who broke through the seal would be no match. Not only France, but the whole of Orient must thank you. I have exhausted my savings for 3,000 years, and it is no longer possible to have a second time, Chromie sighed. I didn't expect Turafat to grow to such a degree. His real strength is probably over all the demigods, whether it is bards or me, are farther and farther away from him. I am afraid that only Grodic may have competed with him. Tolafit is undoubtedly a huge trouble, but the biggest trouble now is that Olong is dead. Not only that, but Crown Prince Yunfield also died of the assassination of the fearful Nodic. The remaining members of the royal family are only Alsinki. The prince and princess Lucia, but they did not awaken the blood of the golden lion. Ulysses sighed, unable to awaken the blood of the golden lion, you cannot inherit the French throne, this country has no nominal owner. It is possible for the queen to supervise the country and wait for the royal family to give birth to the next heir to the blood of the awakening, but this time will last for decades. Yunfield is also dead, Siwei was surprised. To know that Yunfield, as the eldest son of Aolong, has been promoted to the legend at the age of 30, and he has made great achievements in the war of conquering the Blue Sky Field. He is a heirless heir and has been recognized and supported by almost all nobles. This time he did not go with the army, but he took the town of Pai, and he would also die from assassination. And is it the fearful demon in the demon Maharaja Nazg? It seems that the devil is really deliberate, to completely defeat France. Now the southern territory of the kingdom has completely lost control. Even if I can only withdraw a small number of pastors and believers, the tyrannical Lord Razgarda will rule this land. He has established a tyrannical church. I want to wait. He will continue to go north, he said. Before, according to my agreement with Olong, the morning church can expand the faith, but it can't recruit a lot, therefore, the church chooses the most elite and promising. The knights and priests, there are only 5 or 500 knights in the hands of the morning church, which are far less in number than the demons that are constantly coming from the endless abyss, and after breaking through the seal of Ms. Silvermoon, these demons more powerful. French must have a king in order to bring out all the potential of war. What should I do? I know that you have helped Charlotte transplant the blood of the undead bird from the Estanba family. Maybe you can, Ulysses suggested. The result of 11 Way's current research on blood, of course, can awaken the blood of the hidden golden lions in Prince Alsinki or Princess Lucia, but this is not the best choice. They may become a qualified king in peacetime. However, it is absolutely impossible to carry the duties of the French throne. Ziwei pushed Natalia around him. Natalia, my fiancée, the daughter of Princess Olivia, the niece of Olong, not only awakened the blood of the golden lion, but also grew to the legend, the source of the gods. The source of the gods, Yulichia surprised, which aspect of the priesthood? The source of the gods means that it has been closely connected with the priesthood and shows the seed with the potential to grow into a god. Ulysses himself and the music master Sufi belong to this natural demigod, and Natalia undoubtedly, the day after tomorrow stimulates growth. Natalia summoned her own 300 spirits, and a total of 300 golden sleek knights arranged in a square array with brave and fearless warfare. This has reached Natalia's current ability limit, or she will be able to acquire a new batch of heroes in the North Road Army battlefield. I feel the purest warfare. Is it a war? Ulysses hesitated. Yes, it is the most primitive war priesthood. It can be said that it came into being. Today's Orient is the world of great struggle, Zaiwei replied without hesitation. It is necessary to know that the potential of each is undoubtedly linked to the priesthood that is controlled. Even if the believers are at the same time, the believers are equal, but the younger monk of the morning, Ulysses, is bound to be much stronger than the music master Sophie. The same magic, ocean, war, life, death, these will be the first-class priesthood, but also the most worthy direction. Now the Orient can be said that it is the world of war and smoke, and a half-god who controls the war priest appears here, which is the best growth environment. After Zaiwei learned about Natalia's ability to awaken, he immediately strengthened an idea, that is, to push Natalia to the throne of the goddess of war, immortal. Good. It really came into being. I also support Natalia to join the competition. Ulysses took a deep breath. I seem to see the dawn of victory. Then the first step is to help Natalia wears the crown of France. It can be said that in the case of Oolong's death and half of the country's fall, the younger lady of the morning, Ulysses, is already a big figure in the entire French kingdom, and her opinions will receive the highest attention. And Westway also has a deep network in the Kingdom of France. He and the other guardian of France, Victor Hugo, are old friends who have forgotten the level, plus the Duke of Rose Sophie Mathilde. With the support of others, Natalia has a French crown is a foregone conclusion. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 774. On the night of May 31, 1789, in a small three-story garden villa in the center of the Vile Chamber of Commerce, the West Victorian and Natalia leaned against the railing and talked under the stars. How about talking to the Duke of Créteil today? Zaiwei asked the fiancé of his fiancée and asked with concern. With the support of you, Ulysses and Victor, there is no suspense in this matter. It is just a small problem in the procedural, but I have to change my name to Charlie. I intend to turn Bonaparte into me. The middle name, I am Natalia Bonaparte Charlie in the future. Natalia, holding the arms of Zaiwei, gently swayed. Zaiwei, we will have at least 2 children in the future, one inheriting the throne of France, one inheriting the Bonaparte family. Is it good? Of course, as long as you are happy, you can have a whole band. Zaiwei smiled and replied. Cut, how could it be so much? I am not a sow. Natalia raised her mouth. Tomorrow is your official coronation ceremony, are you ready? Of course, Zaiwei. I am a Corsican, also a Frenchman. Now my father is dead, and I am also dead. France is in a storm. I am confident that I will lead this country forward and defeat all enemies. Natalia smiled and looked at Zaiwei. I have an omnipotent lover after all. Remember the promise we made. From tomorrow, you and I will truly stand in the center of the stage of Orient, and perform your own wonderful. In mind, this time, we are the protagonist, Natalia replied confidently, her eyes filled with embarrassment for the future. On the early morning of the next day, the solemn gate of Versailles opened wide. 3 days ago, the funeral of Charles VIII Oolong was held here. His body was buried in the Fontainebleau Palace and the country mourned. Today, it is the new King of France, Charlie IX's ceremony. almost all the qualified nobles of the entire French kingdom are gathered here, and the luxury carriages outside the Palace of Versailles are one after another, almost blocking the spacious avenue. By the time of the 9th magic in the morning, the great figures of the upper class of the whole kingdom arrived. The early morning Pope Ansuz, the French Prime Minister Sergios, and the Marquis of the noble Senate Créteil were not the most distinguished big men. Victor Hugo, Dean of the Royal Academy of Magical Sciences, President of the French Wizards Association, Fifth Law, Lord of Change, today he is wearing a white mage robe with a white mage cap and looks quite low-key, but no one can ignore his influence on the empire. Uriah, the Lord of the Morning, a supreme god, is now the only remaining hope of the whole of Orient to fight against the darkness. 1/3 of the population of the kingdom has become her follower. She has not appeared in the public for a long time. In front of you, the head of the Violet, Sylvester Frost, a seemingly young and over-examined lord, but no one can underestimate his strength and influence. He played a decisive role in the battle against the undead King Bads. The role of it, in the previous period, defeated the Deep-Sea Queen, Kanano, almost integrated the power of the entire Orient magic world, is a well-deserved giant. He also has a more eye-catching identity, that is, the new French king, Natalia's fiancé, who will be crowned. With the support of these three people, Natalia's coronation has no suspense, even Prince Alsinki and Queen Barbara can only avoid it. Princess Lucia looked at the distant Ziway complex. She also returned from the Violet College not long ago. Her father's death brought her a big blow, and she did not expect Natalia to inherit the throne. When the bells of the Notre Dame in the faraway ringed 9 times, accompanied by 2 costumed maids, the new King of France, Natalia Bonaparte Charlie, wore a golden armor from the back of the main hall. The red carpet came out. This is the king's armor of novitas traits. While demonstrating the king's prestige, it also guarantees her beauty as a woman, complex and magnificent to the extreme, and solemn. The appearance of Natalia caused many people to marvel, and many people who originally had conflicts in their hearts seemed to be less hostile to her. Natalia looked at her head and walked in front of the aristocratic veteran where the Duke of Créteil was. Natalia Bonaparte Charlie, as the heir of the great Golden Lion family, today in this sacred hall, can you show the strength of the Golden Lion's blood and win the glory and blessing of the ancestors? The Duke of Créteil, a gold white robes, asked solemnly. Natalia slightly decapitated, stimulating the blood of the body. In this sacred hall, in the royal palace of the Charlie family, the blood of the Golden Lion almost instantly excites the extreme, the whole hall shines with golden brilliance, the ancestors of the past, the illusion of oneness emerges one by one. Almost everyone sighed at this moment on one knee, paying tribute to the first kings of France. Natalia now has more blood activation than any of the first kings, so she quickly received the approval of the first king. From this moment on, she became the owner of the Palace of Versailles. Queen of France. The Duke of Créteil handed the golden scepter in his hand to Natalia, a symbol of the king's rights. Natalia stood up and walked again to the front of the morning sun, Eulizia. Since Natalia is already the source of the gods, this time it was not crowned by Pope Ansuz, but the younger lady of the morning, Eurychia, personally crowned her. More special equals yes, Natalia does not need to. The Lord of the Morning is offering faith because she is the goddess of war in the future. Natalia bowed her head slightly, and Eulizia personally put a golden crown with 36 diamonds on Natalia's head. This is the crown of the king. To be loyal to the new king, headed by the Duke of Créteil, all the French aristocrats in the hall, including the Barber III, kneel on the ground. From this moment, Natalia boarded the throne of France. My king, the 2 million people of Pili are looking forward to the glory of the new king. Please also board the carriage and carry out a parade around the city. The Duke of Créteil, leading the leader with a scepter wearing a crown. Talia boarded a royal carriage with a 12-wheel drive. The carriage was taken down to facilitate the exchange of the king and all the subjects. This step is not a necessary procedure, but now the southwestern part of France is in the territory of the south, and the king is dead. It is in great sorrow and sorrow. The new king's ascension will bring new hope to the people. This is the best at this stage. Hard needle. Natalia left the Versailles with a carriage. Today almost all the pars appear on both sides of the parade. The patrolmen and the guards are doing their best to maintain order and smooth roads. Only for one person. Today's Natalia is so dazzling, her heroic and feminine perfection is combined, and the king of the king is so powerful, it can be said that she will conquer her future subjects in an instant. Natalia looked at the French people on both sides of the road. Her eyes were slightly moist, and she gently waved her left hand and gestured to everyone. Suddenly someone shouted loudly, "Long live the Queen, long live France!" The next moment, the mountains shouted, the whole city was boiling. Long live the Queen, long live France! Finally, the Queen's car came to the Luxembourg Square, which is the largest square in Paris, and tens of thousands of people are waiting for it. The back of the car is followed by a rolling stream of people who can't see the end. Natalia walked off the car and came to the stage, where she will give a speech. Although it was the first time to give a speech in front of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and 2 million people, Natalia was not nervous at all. Her voice was resounding through the whole of Paris with the help of magic. Everyone listened. Clear and clear. French people, France, with a 1,000-year history, has reached the edge of the country. Half a month ago, I was a member of the Bonaparte family. Our country defeated the undead spirit. Under the invasion of the Dark Parliament, the entire Orient was only the Holy Norman Empire and France maintained a glorious independence. Status. However, the devil broke through the Zingai fortress. The entire Holy Norman Empire was spared only from the capital, Vienna. All other territories fell, and the whole of Orient was seen. Only the country of France is still standing. Only the loyal, courageous, tough, fearless Frenchmen still continuing to fight evil. The devil shamelessly attacked France, not only my father, Count Bonaparte, but also the mother of Princess Olivia, and even our great first king, Along's Majesty also died in the battle with the tyrannical master. I went to the battlefield, and the first king fought to the last moment, which brought tremendous trauma to the tyrannical master. He is a fearless warrior, a great king. Today, in the days when the storms of the mountains and rivers fell, Natalia Bonaparte Charlie put on the crown of the king and boarded the throne of France and became your king. I want to ask all the French people, the first king's revenge, do we want to report? The 28 million French people in the south are falling, do we want to save? Do you still have the courage to fight for justice and glory? Revenge. 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 The blood of almost everyone's heart was guided by Natalia's war, even the most timid and weak people became brave and impassioned at this moment. Very good, the French people are the greatest people in the whole world. We will never compromise and never surrender. Even if we fight to the last soldier, we must expel the enemy completely from our homeland. As long as we unite and unite as one. There is only one ending to the enemy, and that is ruin. Death. Destruction. Perish. At this moment, all the French people united in the side of the Queen Natalia under the clash of the state, fighting for fate. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 775. You are now on the throne because of the support of Eurykia and Victor, but this is an external force. You must master your own strength and get the true love and support of the French. After the ceremony, Sci-fi stayed in the palace of Versailles to talk to Natalia to help her adapt to her new status as soon as possible. How can I do it? Natalia has already replaced her in a uniform. Barbara and others have left the palace of Versailles, and the royal family's industry and wealth have been effectively divided. Natalia received 7 of them. Cheng, mainly real estate, and Queen Barbara, Prince Helsinki and Princess Lucia will each inherit 10%, which was agreed in the previous compromise of the West and West, to know that even if the wealth is also more than 100 million gold francs worth. Of course it is a war, Zai Wei said without hesitation, the tyrannical master and the devil will never stop their marching. The next period of time will be a very difficult strategic defense stage. You must go to the front line to fight and resist. Devil's offense. This is also the best chance for you to grow your own war power. When you grow to the true degree of demigod, I will help you form a war temple and formally begin to seal the road. As the goddess of war in the future, remember that there must not be too much defeat, so remember to analyze the changes in the strategic situation, at the most appropriate time. Even if France retreats in the next quarter, you must bring victory. The news, inspiring people's fighting spirit. You mean that I have to pick a winning fighter and fight again? Natalia was hesitant, apparently not accepting it. Of course not, but take the initiative to create the right fighters, don't fall into the situation of defeat. Zai Wei follows the temptation, the cards of the endless abyss are now open, what strength they have is public information, and now you have it's the power of the legend. As long as it's not facing the tyrannical master, few people on the battlefield are your opponents. Eulizia has promised to fight in the presence of any tyrannical master. I have already talked to Charlotte. Then she and the Ashes will fight with you. Your direct guard in the Arcane Corps. And the vowed victory number is already on the way to par, this is the chip in your hands. And Sophie will also return to par, the Music Association's expansion in Violet has reached a bottleneck, she will return to France to continue to expand the faith. I entrusted her as your royal advisor, her power disputes for the nobility and the interior of France can said to be an expert, trustworthy, and internal issues can be assured to discuss with her. In other respects, the Par Daily will help you in media public opinion. The Violet Chamber of Commerce and the Chamber of Fortune will support you financially and logistically. If you take advantage of these forces, you will be invincible. Zai Wei arranged 2 helpers for Natalia, the military is naturally the Ashes Herald Charlotte, and the internal affairs is the music master Sophie, which is also the most trustworthy candidate. Natalia's mouth tilted slightly, it seems that they are sisters to me. 11 Wai Wei smiled. The 3 men happened to be women who had had in-depth exchanges after he came to Elant. Are you leaving? Natalia did not entangle too much and shifted the subject. Yes, the time left for me is very small. After half a year, the demon monarch will resume the victory. It must be broken before this. Zai Wei nodded. Well, my lover, go with confidence, I will do the job of the king. Natalia poured Zivala on a soft bed. One night. There are so many things to do in Zai Wei, the most important ones are 2. The first is to let Freya play the banner of the Daughter of the Ocean, spread the faith in the Spartan region of the Holy Norman Empire, and compete for the faith with the painful Church of the Painful Queen Mesti. In the past 2 months, the 3 churches of tyranny, pain, and fear have been established. It is obvious that there is also a division within the devil. France is the parish of the tyrannical Lord Rasgarda. The pain and fear are respectively contracted by the 2 sacred Norman Empire. Big subject Spania and Austria. Spania is a peninsula surrounded by the sea on 3 sides. The maritime trade is very developed, and the development of the Holy Norman Empire against the New World is initiated by Spania. It can be said that it is a country that needs the ocean very much. It is Flaia's best missionary area. What makes Zai Wei more confident is that the Prince of Philip, the Prince of Spania, is the father of Christine. This relationship at least allows Philip to not easily bring Spania to the devil. Freya has already woken up from her slumber. Now she is much faster than Natalia on the road of gods. At least she has a lot of water and has a whole Naga kingdom united around her. Christine has been instructed by 11 Wei, with the will of Freya and the Duke of Naga, Farina, to go to Madrid to discuss with his father the preparation of the Ocean Church. The second thing that Zai Wei needs to do is to go to the Tower of the Thousand Law. The first fate of fate, its horror was something he had to understand, and when Triffitt destroyed the Zingai fortress and even the entire Holy Norman Empire, hope, the status quo of the Thousand Law Tower is also very crucial. Zai Wei came to the Mount Abis covered with snow and white by sending spells. The town below the Tower of the Thousand Laws is no longer the bustling of the past, and looks very sluggish. Zai Wei entered the Tower of the Thousand Laws and received a grand reception after demonstrating his identity. Later, 11 Wei met with the Anthony speaker and did Della. What happened to the Lord of the First Law? Zai Wei opened the door. No one knows. Your Excellency Tulafit has been studying mysterious forces from outside of Orient for more than 50 years, during which time he has lived in a simple way and has never published any papers on this mysterious force. Anthony, there was a lot of time in the period. On the day of Alfred 9, was the first law normal? Looks like the past, the consciousness is clear, there is nothing abnormal. Anthony smiled. Now the Tower of the Thousand Law has been faintly resisted by the Empire, losing all trust, even if Daedalus gave the greatest help. The first law has disappeared. Yes, he came back and destroyed the Master Tower that he personally built and stood in the world for more than 600 years, and disappeared. Anthony, the Tower of the Thousand Laws is currently located outside the Vienna defensive circle, and may be attacked by demons at any time. It is not awkward. I was ambushed in the Nissan Pass half a month ago by the wise, violent, painful, and fearful four devils. Zai Wei solemnly advised. Oh my God! 4 demons, how can you survive? Dela asked with concern. The fourth law, time dragon Krom. Her no-mooring collapsed due to the appearance of the king of the evil spirit, Diolos, and is currently settled in Violet. Zai Wei said his suggestion. Now we must build a joint defense mechanism. Violet, Thousand and Thousand Towers, and Pi Li are united. If the devil concentrates on the raid, we also concentrate on defense. Anthony's eyes are bright. The Tower of the Thousand Laws is the old magical place of Orient. It is impossible for him to abandon everything here and take the masters to go to Zai Wei, but after losing Tulafit, the facts of the Thousand Laws, it is not so safe. I will establish a permanent portal between Violet, Parle, and the Tower of the Thousand Laws, which can be transmitted without any space blockage. In the Battle of the Nissan Pass, Zai Wei suffered a big loss. Therefore, permanent transmission doors are a must. So far away, the consumption is too horrible. How to do it? Anthony was a little unbelievable. I recently had a new understanding of space spells. That's great. Anthony immediately made a decision. All the casting materials and magical literature we need are available on our side. In fact, the permanent portals that were finally established are not limited to these 3. The northern business city of Copenhagen, Kingstown, and Madrid have also been included in the system. When dealing with the devil's concentrated power transmission, the high-end combat power can be the first time. Transfer support defeated the devil's offense several times. Natalia, who drove the vow of the victory, really started the title of Valkyrie. It was a battle of 3 months, 100 battles, and many times, sticking to the wall, destroying the enemy, regaining lost ground, killing by hand. More than 30 legendary demons, plus the propaganda and touting of Parley daily. Natalia has won a higher reputation than Charlotte, became all France the queen of people worship. Natalia's war clerics also grew up in battles. Her heroic spirits have surpassed 800. This golden army, which will never be afraid and more powerful, has become the biggest nightmare of the demons. In this cruel war, the enemy-occupied area of France did not expand sharply, and almost remained in the appearance of Natalia when it was enthroned. Of course, the merits of the Western-style arcane core were indispensable. Although most of the Smurfs did not participate in the war, the super magic cannons, heavy-duty magical chariots, and several other types of strategic armaments provided by the Holy Capital Arsenal have played a very prominent role. The disparity between humans and demons. Another good news is that the development of the Ocean Church is not inferior. In the past 3 months, Spania has emerged more than 100 temples of the sea. Under the leadership of Freya, the Nagas are with the painful Queen Mesti and Her Majesty. The demon heroic battle, and because the effect of the magic is magnificent, the reputation of the astrologer Christine is also instantly picked up, and at the same time echoes the Queen of Natalia in the north, known as the Pearl of the Two Battlefields. On September 2, 1789, the sacred calendar finally waited for the long-awaited news. The king of the evil spirit, Diolos, launched an attack on the deep rock of the earth element that just arrived in the world of Orient.